let's say you have this little brother or sister, and if this strikes close to home, please know I'm not doing it to make you feel bad. But somebody comes along and molests that sibling. Horrible, right? But then they go to pass judgment on that person. They catch them. And your parents stand up and say, Your Honor, instead of sending that person to prison, please send my child to prison instead. Makes no sense, does it? Because that person deserves to pay that penalty, right? That's what he did. You deserve to go to hell. But Christ took your hell, and God made him, put it on him, put that on him, so that if you would repent, what we just talked about, you don't have to have that. You can have the righteousness of Christ. That's the gospel. Have you ever heard it put that way before?
No.
Yeah.
So what's that make you guys think about your Christianity now?
Well, it makes me think a lot differently about it.
Yeah.
I know that was more than a few sentences, but it's just my inroad to get
Well,
you.
it's less than the hundreds of thousands of words.
Right.
Yeah. Less than the book he was going to write.
Less than the book he was gonna write.
Yeah.
Oh, well. You can still write a book. But what? So how are you responding to that intellectually and internally?
It's taking a while to process, to be honest.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I'm not out here I would love nothing more than for you to say, you know what, I don't think I've ever truly repented of my sins and been a Christian. And then when I say I would love to hear that, that doesn't mean I want it to end there.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to hear that, wow, I want to be a Christian. I want to believe that. Because there's nothing stopping you. But I'm not going to do what so many people would do. Okay, now let's hold hands and let's all pray a prayer. You know, I know you've seen that at least once or twice. You know, or you've heard somebody in the middle of an hours-long sermon say, now, raise your hand if you want to accept Jesus into your heart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you've heard that, right? Well, I got news for you. That's not in the Bible anywhere. It's not. It sounds good and it makes people feel good because now they're making a decision, you know. But you do have a decision to make. And right now, eternity starts. You guys are faced with this. Wyatt, Faith. Why can I not remember your name? Brianna. That's why. It's a longer, harder name.
Yeah.
Faith is easy for me to remember because of the Greek. Wyatt looks like somebody I listen to. Brianna. So eternity, Brianna. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to say it like 15 times in the next 10 seconds. So today, Brianna, Faith, and Wyatt. Eternity starts for you today. And you're faced, and this is the heavy part. You're not going to have an excuse. Do you guys acknowledge that God is real?
Yes. Yeah.
So if something happens to you as you leave here today, you guys driving?
Yeah.
Not me.
Not you? Somebody picking you up?
Sometimes I walk, sometimes I
Oh, so you live close?
No, I don't live close. It's good exercise.
Oh, I know. I've lost 30-some pounds in the last 2 months. But today, right? It starts today. If something happens and you're walking home and a bus jumps the curb and you get hit, God's not going to go, well, you didn't know. He's going to be like, so you remember that guy you just met this morning?
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, thanks a lot, Todd. But you've heard the gospel.
Yeah.
You've heard the message. And Jesus says, come to me, all of you who are weary and heavy laden. And that doesn't mean like you're really tired and you got a lot of stuff to carry. He's talking about the sin load. You carry a load of sin on yourself. And you're carrying that every day, all day long. And you may not recognize it, but there are times you feel it. You're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm just so sick of this. Why do I keep doing the things that I'm doing? That's what he's talking about. And he says, come to me, all of you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. That's the amazing. That's the amazing part of the message is that he's promising to take that off of you. And then it said even more than that. He says, yeah, and now come and carry my load because it's light compared to yours. And I'm going to think about that. He's going to take your sin. He's carried it for you on the cross, and now you get to carry righteousness and obedience to him. But you've heard the gospel message today, and God is not going to just say, oh, well, you didn't know. He's going to hold you accountable for your sin, whether or not you hear it. But now he's going to be like, not only are you guilty of sin, but you also heard the gospel message. You don't have any excuse. And that's as close to being manipulative as I'm going to get. I'm not going to manipulate you. I would love to hear that you guys repent and believe the gospel. I would love to do that. And I would also, and I mean this genuinely, there's anything that I can do to help you, if you guys want to know more, that's why my card's in there. I have an email address on there. I have my YouTube channel, and I also have my website on there. I would love for you guys to reach out if you have any questions.
Well, thank
Brianna. I got it. So, any pushback, anything you disagree with, anything you're wanting to ask, anything that's...
Nothing's coming to mind right now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to process
Yeah.
everything.
Anything I could explain better?
I think you explained it pretty well.
What you explained is good. There's definitely a lot more.
Oh,
Yeah, of course. But
Yeah.
what you explained sounds solid.
Yeah. Yeah.
so what made you, in the human sense, what made you come out here?
I saw people talking to you, and I wanted to know,
Wyatt.
like, what's going on?
Wyatt
You're one of
maybe.
those, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, hey, something's going on out there. I want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he came up to us and he was like, "You want to go talk to this guy?" We're like, "Sure." And we're like,
Yeah.
He was
sure.
like, I don't want to go out there alone. He might be scary.
I gotta drag people along. I was trying to get other.
No, I'm glad
Yeah.
you did. I love the fact that you brought people to hear it. So, and that there actually is morning, or is it still morning? Can I give you something to check out when you have some time? You have a good day. There's a story in John chapter 4. I don't say story and like made up, but there's an account of Jesus traveling, and he's in the land of Samaria, and he meets a Samaritan woman, and she's at the well getting water. I mean, because that's what you do at a well. Duh. Really, she's getting water at the well. Really? I would have what? But she's there. She's drawing water for the day, and Jesus says, give me some water. And so what you have to understand is that she's a Samaritan, so they're kind of like half Jewish, half they were treated very poorly by the Jews because they weren't pure-blooded Jews. And Jesus is a Jew, and she looks at Jesus and she recognizes him right away as being fully Jewish. Jesus did not look like you and I. He was not a white guy with long blonde hair and blue eyes sitting around on a cloud. All right, he was a Jewish guy, and he was a carpenter in his early life. He was a hard-working dude, and she recognized him immediately as a Jew. And he goes, "Give me some water to drink." And she was like, "Wait a minute, why are you asking me, a Samaritan, to give you water? Don't you know that our people don't get along?" And I'm paraphrasing. And he's like, "It doesn't matter." And then he says something to her that makes her, he was like, "If you knew what I had to offer, the water that I have to offer, you would ask me because you would never be thirsty." And she says to him, "Well, Lord, give me that water." And when she said Lord, she wasn't saying it as an acknowledgement of who he was as God. She was saying it was kind of a respect thing. She says, "Well, give me that water." And what's she thinking about? I don't want to go to the well every day, right? And then they kind of have a little bit of a religious, philosophical debate about the differences about where you're supposed to worship and stuff. And then, "Hi, Ellie, still here, but I gotta thank you because they saw me talking to you and your crew, and then they came out to talk to me. So this is."
It's from your friend Sam. He prized us.
All right.
Ellie.
Kind of.
Okay. Bye, Ellie. So there's this little bit of this debate going on, and you really don't debate Jesus. You're not going to win. But there's a little bit of this debate going on, and he says something to her. He says, "Woman, go get your husband." And she said, "I don't have a husband." And he says, "Oh, I know. And the man that you're with right now ain't your husband." And then he goes on and says, "You've had," I think he says, like 5 husbands. And she's like, "Whoa, how did you know that?" And he didn't go, "Well, I'm God." He just said, and he called her to repentance and saying, "I'm the promised Messiah. I'm the one that the Old Testament has been promising is coming," because the Samaritans believed the Old Testament as well. They just had a different view to some degree of it. And he said, "I'm the promised Messiah. I am the one who comes to bring truth. I'm the one who comes to bring life." And I'm paraphrasing again.
Yep.
And you know what she does? I'm just gonna. No, because then I'll get in trouble. I'll get in trouble if they pick it
you
up.
will?
Yeah. Because they'll use that as a reason to tell me I can't be here because I littered. But the really cool part of that encounter is that she gets done. He tells her, and she believes in him. He tells her who he is, and she believes in him. And you know what she does? She goes back to her village. She's an adulterous woman. People back then, everybody knew who she was and what she was doing. People had a very dim view of her. And she goes back to the village and she tells people, she just bursts out, I met this guy and he's the Messiah and he told me all these sinful sexual relationships I've been having. You got to come meet him. And they all go out, and then he starts talking to them, and they look at her and they go, we believed you, but now we believe because of him. And so you brought them, like the woman at the well brought her village. See how I tied that together?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not Jesus in this story, by
Oh,
the
you
way.
aren't?
No, I'm a beggar showing other beggars where to find bread.
Right.
And Jesus is the bread of life. So I would compel you guys to think about that.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear from you, any of you, all of you. I would love to hear from all of you.
Yeah.
Reach out, watch the DVD.
Yeah.
And it's going to sound a lot like, it's just going to sound a lot better because the people they have on the DVD are more professional than I am. Have better voices. So, any questions?
No.
Anything I can do?
No.
You're like, I'm leaving in 10 minutes. Can you give me a ride home? So, well,
Thanks for talking to us.
no, thank you for coming out. Are you a musical person?
Yeah.
Do you sing?
Sometimes.
So, when people will let me? No. No.
I do.
You do? You got, so you just met her?
Yeah.
I know
Wow.
her from my theater class.
Okay.
I've known him a long time.
Yeah.
How'd you guys meet?
School.
Cool. At high school? Oh, so you're both from Hayfield? Was it Hayfield? No.
No. Austin.
Austin. Oh, I talked to somebody else from Hayfield. I'm sorry. That was the last group.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Here in Austin. What school did you go to public school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
School.
I went to Hayfield for 9 years. 10 years. 10 years.
Oh, you
Yeah.
said something about Hayfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, about everybody in Hayfield was Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I knew I was like, talked to quite a few people today, so anything? Nothing?
No, you explained what you said well.
I don't. I just feel like I'm leaving
It's like
something
you've done
out.
this before.
Yeah, just a tinge. But I'm not doing it just because it's a thing to do. This is going to sound really funny from a soon-to-be 48-year-old guy talking to, what are you, 18?
Yeah, I am
18?
actually.
19?
That's great.
20?
18.
18? You look a little older.
Yeah.
Go with that right now, because that's good for
Say
you.
yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's good for you. So,
Well, people think I'm 14, so.
no, you're not. I mean, you don't look old, but you definitely don't look 14. You're much more mature. You have a more mature face than that. As strange as it sounds coming from, I'm going to be 48 at the end of the month. So, as strange as it sounds coming from, I love you guys. I know that sounds really weird. And not in a creepy way, like I'm not going to show up at your house, okay? But I do, I love you, because you're made in the same image that I'm made in. It's called the Imago Dei. It's a technical term, being made in the image of God. And that doesn't mean physically we look like God, that means we have God's spiritual stamp on us. Which is why some people create and sing and do art and write, because God is a creator and we're stamped with that image. And so there are different ways each one of us works that image of God out in us. So some people create through music and singing, because God is called the God who sings. God is an author. He writes.
How do you know I put down words?
Because she mentioned it, and she mentioned it, and I listened.
Oh, okay.
So you're like, I should have just gone with that. Well, but I wouldn't want to lie.
Yeah.
Well, I
But
am
she-
God.
No. No. If I ever say that, don't listen to
Yeah,
anything that
no.
follows after that.
Okay.
But I know I was paying attention, and so there's and so we're creative because God is creative. Now we can't create the way God creates, right? None of us have the power to just make a tree grow. You can plant a seed and grow it up, but nobody has the power to create the way God creates.
Snap.
Right. It's called ex nihilo, out of nothing.
Oh.
God created out of nothing. He created everything that you see out of nothing except for human beings. And this is the amazing thing about God's creation, and this is how we reflect Him in our creative work. God creates all this stuff, and then He reaches down and He molds man out of the dust of the earth.
Sweet.
That's
From
what
dust.
yes, we're dust. Dust. That's why when you're reading the script, when you read at funerals, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. God reached down, shaped Adam out of the dust of the earth, and then in an intimate act leaned over and breathed the breath of life into him, gave him spiritual life, and gave him that the breath of life. And then he creates Eve out of the side of Adam, literally removes a rib from Adam and puts it into Eve, and that's why he calls them united in the flesh. And that's so, but with his own hands he created them, not just by speaking them into existence, but he intimately formed them. And then he does that with every single person. The scriptures tell us in the Psalms that we're intimately crafted, knitted together in our mother's wombs by God for a purpose. Okay, I can be done now. I could do this forever. I'll do it as long as you guys want to talk. I'm like,
We got a class, soon.
so, Brianna's like, I'm getting out of here. So
We
Faith,
just
it
got
was
class.
nice to meet you.
Me too.
Thank you.
was
Please
nice
reach
to
out
meet
if you have any questions. Thanks for bringing them along, Wyatt. It was
Yeah.
wonderful, and
Thanks for talking with us.
oh no, thank you for coming out. I was like debating, is it time to go now? 'Cause it's a little warm. It does. It's better than it would have been 6 weeks ago, but
Yeah.
and better than it'll be in about 6 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear from you guys, and thank you for coming out and talking. That was amazing.
No problem.
You guys have a great day.
You
Yeah,
too.
you
No.
too.